Let's begin with something honest. The world isn't going to stop spinning just because your spirit needs a break. People won't always be kind. The noise won't always quiet down when you're hurting. And not everyone will understand your silence. But here's the truth. Peace isn't about waiting for the noise to stop. It's about training yourself to remain steady inside of it. Being unbothered isn't about apathy, it's about alignment. It's not the absence of emotion, it's the ability to feel deeply without losing yourself in the storm. You don't get there by shutting down, you get there by building yourself up, one boundary, one pause, one deep breath at a time. The work is not glamorous. Sometimes it's ugly. It's unlearning old patterns and saying no to chaos when your nervous system has been trained to equate drama with love. It's noticing when your ego wants to react and choosing not to feed the fire. It's realizing you don't owe anyone your peace just because they handed you their pain. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to a healthier relationship with yourself and the world around you. They are the invisible architecture of inner peace, built not from anger or rejection, but from clarity and self-respect. When you live without boundaries, you live on high alert, constantly managing other people's emotions, absorbing their projections, and abandoning yourself in the name of keeping the peace. But here's the truth. Peace built on self-abandonment isn't peace, it's performance. Training yourself to be unbothered starts with knowing where you end and someone else begins. It's understanding that your time, energy, emotions, and attention are sacred resources, and not everyone should have unlimited access to them. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they deserve your energy. Just because someone is in need doesn't mean you are responsible for rescuing them. There is no award for burning yourself out to make others comfortable. There is no award for safety or circumference. Real boundaries are not drawn in anger. They're spoken from a place of deep self-awareness. You say, this is what I can give without betraying myself, and you stick to it. You say, this is what I will no longer tolerate, even if it disappoints others, and you hold it. You stop over-explaining, over-apologizing, and over-functioning because you've realized your worth is not something to be constantly proven. And here's the magic. When you hold your boundaries, you stop reacting to every trigger, every demand, every disruption. You create space between the stimulus and the response. That space is where your peace lives. That space is where your healing happens. And over time, people either rise to meet you there or fall away. Either way, you're left with something priceless. A life rooted in your values, not your fears. You don't become unbothered by pretending you're above it all. You become unbothered by standing firmly in what you will and will not accept. Boundaries aren't cold, they're compassionate. They say, I care about you, but I care about me too. And that is the foundation on which unshakable peace is built. Here's a truth that stings before it soothes. No one can make you react. They can provoke, offend, disappoint, or trigger you, but your reaction is always your choice. That doesn't mean your emotions are wrong or that you shouldn't feel deeply. It means that your power begins the moment you stop handing your emotional control to someone else. We've all been there. Someone says something thoughtless and suddenly your chest tightens, your heart races, your defenses rise. You want to clap back, shut down, or maybe even cry. That reaction is real. But training yourself to be unbothered means learning to pause in that space between the trigger and the response. That pause is not weakness, it's mastery. It's a sacred breath where you ask yourself, what part of me is reacting right now? Is it fear? Is it ego? Is it a wound that hasn't yet healed? Reacting impulsively is often our way of protecting ourselves. But in the long run, constant reactivity leaves us exhausted. You end up being pulled in 100 directions by people who don't even deserve a seat at your table. The truth is, when you react from a place of pain, you often betray your peace just to prove a point. But when you respond from a place of grounded clarity, you protect both your dignity and your energy. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending things don't hurt. It's about honoring them without letting them steer your life. You can feel deeply and still respond wisely. You can be hurt and still hold on to your integrity. That's what emotional responsibility looks like. It's asking, how do I want to show up for me right now? Not for them, not to win, not to defend, but to honor myself. When you train yourself to own your reactions, you stop being a puppet to every passing emotion. You reclaim your time. You become selective about where your energy goes. You stop reacting to people who only want to drain or confuse you. You choose peace over drama, clarity over chaos, and self-respect over the fleeting satisfaction of being right. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, don't fight them in the chaos. Center yourself. Breathe. Choose. Let them see what it looks like when someone knows their power. One of the most powerful skills you will ever master is selective silence. The moment you realize that not everything requires your response is the moment you begin to protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. So much of our emotional energy is drained by reacting to things that don't actually deserve our attention. A passive-aggressive comment, a social media post laced with shade, someone projecting their insecurity onto you in the form of unsolicited advice or subtle jabs. And suddenly you feel pulled into a conversation or a conflict you didn't ask for. Why? Because something inside of you still believes you have to defend yourself to feel worthy, but you doubt. The need to respond to everything comes from a deeper place, the desire to be understood, validated, and respected. But here's the liberating truth. Your worth is not up for discussion. You don't need to educate someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to explain yourself to people who only listen so they can reply, not understand. And you certainly don't need to engage with noise just because it's loud. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the calm decision to let people spin their narratives while you stay anchored in your truth. You don't fight every fire. Sometimes you walk away and let it burn itself out. That's not avoidance, that's emotional discipline. That's choosing your inner world over someone else's chaos. Training yourself to be unbothered means learning to discern between what's worth your energy and what's just bait for your peace. You don't have to chase closure. You don't have to clap back to prove a point. You don't have to answer every question or clarify every misunderstanding. Sometimes your silence is the answer. Sometimes your lack of reaction speaks volumes. When you realize you have nothing to prove, not to strangers, not to critics, not even to people you love, you begin to live in a way that honors your nervous system, not just your pride. And that right there is emotional freedom. So ask yourself, is this helping me grow, or is this just pulling me back into patterns I've already outgrown? If it costs your peace, it's too expensive. If it forces you to shrink, silence yourself, or spiral, let it go. Not everything deserves a response. Some things deserve to be left exactly where you found them, beneath you. One of the most exhausting pursuits in life is trying to be understood by people who have already made up their minds about you. We spend so much time explaining, defending, clarifying, hoping that if we just say the right thing in the right tone, with the right timing, then maybe, just maybe, they'll get it. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Some people aren't interested in understanding you. They're interested in managing how you make them feel. And when your sense of peace, identity, or worth is tethered to whether others get you, you will always feel like you're chasing yourself in someone else's mirror. You start bending, shrinking, adjusting, hoping to make yourself digestible. But your soul was never meant to be watered down for the comfort of others. It was meant to be whole. Letting go of the need to be understood isn't an act of arrogance. It's an act of emotional maturity. It means you finally trust that you know who you are, even if others don't. It means you stop offering long-winded explanations to people who listen to argue, not to learn. It means you stop seeking closure from those who benefit from misunderstanding you. And most of all, it means you no longer base your value on external validation. Here's the reality. Your healing will confuse people who benefited from your brokenness. Your boundaries will frustrate those who thrived on your people-pleasing. Your peace will threaten those who need chaos to feel relevant. That's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of their limitations. When you let go of being understood by everyone, you start to build deeper connection with the few who truly see you, not just the curated version of you, but the raw, vulnerable, truth-telling version. These are the people who listen with their hearts. They don't need long explanations. They feel your energy. They honor your silence. They don't just understand you, they hold you. You don't need to scream your truth to be heard. You don't need to perform your pain to be believed. And you certainly don't need to sacrifice your peace just to be seen. You are not for everyone, and that's a sign of your authenticity, not a flaw. The moment you stop needing universal understanding is the moment you begin to live in deeper alignment with yourself. And that's when the real transformation begins, not because you've convinced others to accept you, but because you finally accepted yourself. We often imagine peace as a place we'll one day arrive at, as if it's a mountaintop we reach after enough healing, enough therapy, enough boundaries, or enough distance from pain. But peace isn't a final destination you unpack your bags in. Peace is a daily practice, a choice you recommit to every single day, sometimes every hour. Peace is not what happens when everything around you finally calms down. It's what happens when you learn how to center yourself in the middle of the noise. It's not a moment where all your problems disappear. It's the inner resilience that says, even if the storm continues, I will no longer abandon myself. Practicing peace is uncomfortable at first, especially when chaos is familiar. For many of us, our nervous systems have been conditioned to equate busyness with productivity, emotional reactivity with care, and tension with meaning. So when things feel calm, we get suspicious. When things feel steady, we start to self-sabotage. That's because peace, for many of us, doesn't feel safe. It feels unfamiliar. But here's the truth. Just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean it's wrong. Peace has to be practiced like a language you once knew but forgot how to speak. You return to it through breath, through boundaries, through choosing stillness instead of spiraling. You return to it by no longer participating in conversations that insult your worth. You return to it by not taking the bait, by not over-explaining, by resting without guilt, by saying no without apologizing. Peace doesn't mean your life is perfect. It means you're not controlled by every fluctuation of emotion or external pressure. It means you can witness your own pain without turning it into self-punishment. It means you can sit with discomfort without needing to numb it or react to it. And yes, some days you'll forget. Some days you'll react, spiral, or get pulled into other people's drama. That doesn't mean you've lost your peace. That means you're human. What matters is that you return again and again. That's the practice. You don't need to wait for the right time to feel peaceful. Peace isn't waiting for you in a different job, relationship, or version of yourself. It's here now, beneath the noise, the fear, the constant proving. But you have to choose it. You have to protect it. You have to practice it over and over until it becomes your default, not your escape. And that's what it means to train yourself to be unbothered, not detached, but deeply rooted, not numb, but fully present, not perfect, but profoundly anchored in the kind of peace no one else can give or take away. Peace is often romanticized as this grand, life-altering event, something that happens after you've done all the work, left all the toxic people, healed all your trauma, and crossed some invisible finish line of self-mastery. But that's not how it works. Peace is not a one-time victory. It's a daily practice, a conscious, deliberate return to yourself It's the decision you make each morning to protect your energy before the world pulls at it. It's the moment you choose to pause instead of panic. It's how you breathe through a conversation that's pressing your buttons, how you choose not to carry someone else's mood, how you let go of the fantasy that life has to be perfect in order to be peaceful. Peace is less about the absence of problems and more about the presence of boundaries, awareness, and grace. It's found in the tiny, ordinary moments. The way you sit with your coffee in silence, the way you ground yourself before responding to a triggering text, the way you leave a conversation when your spirit says enough. Those are the rituals of peace, not glamorous, not performative, but deeply powerful. And here's the honest part. Peace doesn't always feel good at first. When you start choosing peace over chaos, your mind will rebel. Your nervous system, used to anxiety, urgency, and over-explaining, will tell you something's wrong. You'll crave the noise you swore you hated because it's familiar. You'll start to feel guilty for resting. You'll wonder if you're being selfish for not engaging, cold for not reacting, or lazy for not rushing. But what's really happening is this. You're detoxing from dysfunction. You're unlearning the myth that busyness equals worth, that chaos equals passion, or that exhaustion equals success. Peace feels foreign at first, not because it's wrong, but because you've outgrown the noise that used to validate you. So you practice daily. Some days you'll do it beautifully. You'll meditate, breathe, set boundaries, choose silence. Other days you'll spiral, snap, or numb out. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. It means you have another chance tomorrow. Because peace doesn't demand perfection. It asks only for your